Transoxania is the land situated north of the Oxus River and south of the Jaxartes. It is the birthplace of one of the most successful and infamous conquerors ever to have lived. Born into an unimportant tribe in an obscure corner of the world with little prospects or connections, a young Timur turned to a life of petty crime, stealing cattle and sheep whenever he could. During one such attempted theft, he was shot in the hand and leg by an attentive shepherd. These injuries would never fully heal. He would carry them for the rest of his life, giving him the nickname Timur the Lame, or Tamerlane as he is known in the West. The Mongol successors of Genghis Khan had dominated much of Eurasia in the century preceding his rise to power. With the exception of the Golden Horde, these great Mongol powers became increasingly dominated by their own subjects. In the 1330s, the Ilkhanate, with its heavily urbanized population, was severely ravaged by the Black Death, with the Il Khan and his sons being killed by the plague, which led to the rapid disintegration of the Ilkhanate into various small petty states. In the Chagatai Khanate, power passed to localized chieftains of largely Turkic or mixed Turco-Mongol descent, with the Chagatai Khan taking on an increasingly diminished role. As order increasingly gave way to chaos, plague, and anarchy, Timur began his ascent to power. With only 7 followers and 4 horses at his command, he successfully played off the tribal chiefs of Transoxania against each other for his own benefit, serving as a mercenary commander. When Tughlaq Khan of the Chagatai invaded Transoxania to restore order, Timur switched sides and supported the invading Khan. Initially rewarded with the governance of Transoxania, Timur fled to what is now Afghanistan, when the Khan replaced him with his son. Although illiterate, Tamerlane was fluent in Persian, Mongolian, and Turkic languages, which he used to great effect in gathering all manner of malcontents to his cause. With a small but highly motivated nomadic force loyal to him, he successfully conquered Transoxania, and after having his brother-in-law murdered, he became the sole ruler there. A year later, in 1370, Tamerlane took the Arabic title Emir, meaning commander, lacking the prestige to take the title Khan or Caliph, which were associated with the descendants of Genghis Khan and Muhammad. Since Timur was not a descendant of Genghis Khan, he found one and installed him as a puppet Khan with no real power. Over the next decade, he consolidated his rule over Central Asia. After accomplishing this, he then turned south, taking Khwarezm in Afghanistan in the late 1370s. He then moved west, easily sweeping aside the myriad of tiny emirates that had been squabbling over the ruins of the Ilkhanate. Throughout the 1380s, all resistance was brutally crushed. Many cities with formidable defenses surrendered without a fight, fearing being subjected to the sadistic slaughter that Tamerlane had become infamous for inflicting, such as mass beheading, burning, or burying alive of a city's population. In the early 1390s, Timur conquered Mesopotamia and Baghdad, the former capital of the Islamic world. Year after year, he continued to push westward, his only respite being the occasional campaign against the Golden Horde, who had raided the north of his realm. He installed Toktemish, a Khan he believed would be loyal to him, as head of the Golden Horde. From Egypt to Anatolia, a frenzied panic consumed the populace and its leaders. As Tamerlane ravaged what is now Syria, Toktemish betrayed him and the Golden Horde invaded yet again. This time, Tamerlane moved north with overwhelming force. His army of 100,000 indiscriminately destroyed towns, villages, and cities. Toktemish was deposed by his own people after Tamerlane won a string of decisive victories during his 2-year campaign. Tamerlane had no desire to rule over the arid northwestern steppelands, but only to secure his northern border, which he did. The devastated Golden Horde would never recover, and would diminish and fragment soon after. Timur then began to receive reports of internal instability in what was arguably the wealthiest empire on the planet at the time, the Delhi Sultanate. Taking advantage of this, he then carried out one of the greatest feats of pure destruction and accumulation of plunder in world history. In 1398, he crossed the Indus River and attacked the Delhi Sultanate without warning. Confronted with the Sultan's formidable force of elephants clad in chainmail with poison-tipped tusks, Tamerlane countered with charging camels carrying piles of wood and burning hay on their backs. The flaming, screaming camels caused the elephants to panic and disperse in all directions. Tamerlane slaughtered many hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians during the campaign, killing 100,000 prisoners in a single instance. In less than 3 months, Timur captured Delhi, and departed back to Samarkand, his army laden with the treasure of India, leaving the land in chaos and destruction. In Tamerlane's conquests, he routinely slaughtered the entire civilian population of a city, although he did spare scholars, engineers, and artisans, taking them back to beautify his capital city. Timur had declared that his campaign in India was a holy war, calling himself the Sword of Islam. But seen as his victims, from Anatolia to beyond the Indus River, were nearly all Muslims. The more appropriate description that became associated with him became the Prince of Destruction. The wrath of Tamerlane turned west yet again. Baghdad led Mesopotamia's cities in revolt, and as you might expect by this point, this ended with the city's population being massacred. To the west of Timur's empire lay the Egyptian Mamluk Sultanate, and the rapidly growing Ottoman Empire. Its Sultan, Bayezid, known as the Thunderbolt, had been besieging the surrounded city of Constantinople for 8 years. Bayezid also spent years exchanging letters with Timur, typically insulting each other's manliness. This likely contributed to Timur launching a full-scale invasion into Anatolia, instead of Egypt, whom he was also at war with. And ultimately, the Battle of Ankara, where two massive armies clashed, with heavy casualties on either side, and ended with the defeat and capture of Bayezid, who died while